Hello, 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 and welcome back to Transistor. You voted, so it's time for a new loadout. Now, as has been the pattern here, my poor playing means that we're not going to go out with all of our winners, just some to start with. Crash is going to get Spark, Bounce is going to get Switch and Help. And then we're going to have Purge loaded with Void. Our one passive winner is Mask, and we will fill out the rest of our slots with Load and Ping. Let's see here. Load's a pretty good passive, so I'm going to take that out, and Ping will be an acceptable active. And with that taken care of...
So this is Fairview. Farther from town than I thought. All of Cloudbank's gonna wind up like this. Where are we supposed to... Oh.
Appearances to the contrary, the process is not a fan of Euclidean geometries.
Trying times. Very trying times these days. Graham, the others, they've gone ahead. That me now, haven't they? Just you and me now, isn't it? You and me, and the Transistor.
I got nothing.
We had a saying, which goes, when everything changes, nothing changes. You see, when everything changes, nothing changes. But all this isn't what we had in mind.
Euclidean geometries, or gravity, apparently.
Town isn't looking any better from this angle. There's the door. To something. Better. To Fairview.
To combat. Alright. Man variety number 3, Shooty. It's pretty self-explanatory. All that it means is that it will shoot more often. Now, that may seem dangerous, but when coupled with a variety like Stealthy, it's actually a benefit to us. You can't hit stealthy men until they attack, and if they are attacking more often, you can hit them more often. Simple as that. It might also mean that their haircuts are stronger, but it's a little bit difficult to tell. They deal pretty huge damage as is, and without a direct number counter on Red's health bar, it's a little bit tricky to calculate exact values. Trying to make sure that I maximize every turn's efficiency here. A nice feature about the haircut, as we've seen a few times, is that their explosions not only will hurt the men, but will set off our packets.
Lights out. Made it. Getting warmer.
Alright, a choice between what should be our final 2 processes. Flood is a tricky, situational type of thing, and Cull is just a smasher. And with the powerful men, we need a smasher. Also going to take out a third second upgrade slot, and a new limiter. Ones we've seen before, either 6 less memory or no emergency turn. I think with a little bit of cautious play, the one that loses our emergency turn won't be that big of an issue.
The process, it's just doing a job. Doing its job. Though I much preferred it when the process did mine. But our old friend Grant, I let him borrow it. And well, anyway, here we are.
Go for it.
We knew we'd have our detractors. What we were doing was wrong. In the traditional sense. The contemporary sense.
Yeah, you can keep giving me a whole bunch of different senses. What's wrong is wrong. Well, let's see here. First of all, new limiter, the Clucker. Gonna turn that on. And back to the functions. Get is back online, and Cull is a little too expensive to put in. So let's see here. Take off ping. And we'll put get on. It was actually one of our winners. Load it out with load. And looks like we're going to have to leave Cull behind for now. Have enough left over to put ping on a passive slot. And we'll just work with what we got as we get it. Ooh, and variety number 4, sturdy. Sturdies are the big threats in my opinion. When a sturdy man is on the field, all the men will regenerate their health, and at a pretty substantial rate. They are my #1 priority target.
Direct approach, huh?
Also, something interesting that got pointed out to me by Messiah for Hire in the thread. It's strange, I tested it earlier and it didn't work out, but in this run I can see it now. Certain moves like Purge and Bounce that move you around, the movement is actually a small amount of movement in terms of your turn counter, and you can actually take that movement back. That's good for when you're trying to maximize your turn efficiency, since if you have even a little bit more, you can squeeze out an entire extra function. Which, 100 damage for Breach, a Cull, which we'll see soon. It's really nice. Now here I'm doing my best to really lay into the sturdy man. Without Void at my disposal, as I usually do when I play for myself, I have to deal with the base damage that I've got, and you can see here how quickly the man is getting his health back. So you notice in the space of a single turn recharging, it regained almost all of its health. It really is vital to lay on the heat when you don't have something like Void or Mask to boost your damage up. function like Purge that can hit it even once it goes stealthy. Get, which can deal a huge amount of damage at the end of a combo. And a lucky lineup with the thing's haircut
The rest should go quicker.
sets us up for getting rid of the sturdy man. And gotta move quickly to pick up the cell, so we don't have to deal with it again. With the sturdy man gone, we are more or less in the clear. Speedy is dangerous and stealthy is annoying, but we have more than enough skill to take care of her. Just gotta keep our distance from the haircuts in between turns. At this point in the game, with how tough the enemies are and how ferocious their attacks can be, it really, at least the way I do it, becomes a turn-based strategy game. Attacking between turns isn't that viable of an option at this point, unless you have a very particular loadout.
Damn, Red.
That's the stealthy man gone, which means that the speedy is completely vulnerable. Just about got it. And I was too slow on the draw. Fortunately, though, a crashed man is basically helpless, especially if you can box it into a corner like this. It's not the most exciting thing, but it's certainly efficient.
That was rough. Gotta keep going.
Soon. First we need to top ourselves off. Well, we've lost 3 functions in one shot, and the only one open is our new one, Cull. So let's take that out for a spin.
Oh, Mark, that's the Hammer's quarter filter. What they want with him.
So as we can see here, Cull deals a base 225 damage, the second greatest out of all functions. It also has a huge planning cost, and an upward impact special ability. We'll get to see that in a minute. Also, an interesting effect on passive, check. Maybe we'll see that later if you all decide to give it to me. Now before we move on, I'm going to be a little tricksy. I would like to get my functions back, so we're going to poke our heads into the Clucker file briefly, so you can all see that. And then I am going to turn off the creep. With that out of play, those functions that are overloaded will come back into play much quicker. We can see that they only need one new access point. And before we move on, I just want to take a quick look around the area. It's interesting how much of a cathedral this place looks. I wouldn't have paid Cloudbank for a religious city.
Let's fly. Everyone always said you could be anything you want in this town. This is it for me. I could get used to this.
There's these traces inside the transistor. Everyday people once upon a time, but now, well, not quite themselves. And they're trapped. No walls in there, mind you, it's just they're on their own. Listen close enough and maybe you can hear them. Some of them, I mean. The ones you know.
Just a bit farther.
And what a tricksy little fellow I am. Next access point was right there. Still don't have these three, but Breach, Jaunt, and Tap are back online, so we can put them back in the game. Now, Tap was one of our passive winners, as was Jaunt. And Breach is supposed to go on Crash, so let's see if we can do a little bit of rearranging and let them in. Or maybe not. Maybe we'll put them in a bit, after we've had some time with Cull. Alright, what have we got? Speedy, sturdy, shooty. Well, at least there's no stealthy. It means we'll be able to hammer on them constantly, compensate nicely for the regenerating health they get. Pull these guys in, poison them, and let's take a look at Cull.
Nice.
And just missed him. And a careless error on my part loses us Purge. So maybe now we can take a good look at Cull. As I've said, a huge planning cost. That is the upward impact. It shoots processes up into the air. Honestly, I've never really found a use for that. They come down so quickly, I can't really seem to exploit it in any ways. When put up against things like Crash and Purge, which stun them so thoroughly, it really doesn't seem like that useful of a delay, but the damage more than makes up for that. It's an amazing finisher. Just like that, we're down to the last man. He won't know what hit him. Gonna go hide in a corner until our turn is ready to go again. And then we're just gonna get right on top of him. Something you're going to notice that I have trouble internalizing is that when paired with Spark, Crash has a rather sizable knockback.
That should do it.
And I'm going to waste a lot of turns because of that.
If Royce can hold him off, so can you.
Taking another quick look around. It's a little bit hard to tell what this area should have been. Maybe some kind of courtyard?
Next. That a terminal? Whatever Roy sees in this place, I don't.
Whenever people make a change, whether to the sea or the sky or anywhere in between, the process does the real work. Invisible, behind the scenes. Well, I say whoever does the real work ought to get the credit. So I found a way to put the process center stage, a way to keep the process working in concert, in harmony.
Enough with the history. Don't like it here.
All things considered, buddy, I wouldn't really call that history.
Bet this leads somewhere other than here.
The Transistor. I have no idea what's inside it, really. Who or what? I've my theories, but, well, that's really all they are. It's just theories. I've seen inside it. Had myself a little look. But I didn't see much at all. It was like staring at the sky.
Bright lights back there. Maybe it's Royce.
Well, maybe we're getting close.
Let's never do that again.
No promises.
In this town, it changes shape all the time, right? Bridges, parks, highways rising and falling. Rising and falling. At the people's whim, with the changing of the seasons. Even the seasons, they're just whim. Why, I guess I grew weary of it. After a while, things changing all the time. All the time.
No views like that in town.
Wonder what kind of foliage the process would make. Well, no, never mind. It's these square trees right here. And now we've got most everybody back in the game. So let's see. Who do we want? Who do we want? Who do we want? I'm considering if I want to leave Call behind. And I'm thinking that I don't. So instead, we finally have one completed winner right there. Crash, Spark, Breach. I'm going to put the Jerk back online. And we are maxed out on memory, so no more of that. Just the two? Sturdy and stealthy is really the combination to look out for. If you get those two together, you're gonna have problems. If not, it should be an alright fight. Once again, you're wasting a call because I've smashed him into the stratosphere already. Not going to make the same mistake twice. And thankfully, with the slowed down time in the turn, we're able to get a crash off before the man has fully ascended.
There's the other one.
And with just a shooty on its own, it's even less of a threat than a speedy. Goes down, no problem at all.
I knew Grant half my life. Principled, persuasive man. Very persuasive. I'll miss him. He appreciated my work, supported my endeavors. The Camerata was his idea. I was all for it. All for it at first. But then, well, I'd say the rest was history, but that's not quite the case.
Just going to do a little bit of rearranging. We are actually done fighting for this installment. I'm just sort of messing around at this point.
Where I found it, yet why? I found it on a lark, right around here, geographically speaking. Although geography was only one small factor, there was also the math. Awful lot of math involved. Wasn't entirely myself when I found it, you might say. Sometimes I think I didn't find it at all. More like the other wise around. You understand? Maybe it was looking for someone like me.
Either way, now you're stuck with it.
Well, I, for one, can certainly understand what it means to not be quite yourself when an awful lot of math is presented to you. And with that, we are done for this update. Just going to do a quick pass through, see if anybody has more information for us. Have a new installment for Mr. Hyaford. One last bit of information on Grant Kendrell. And finally, our first installment on Mr. No, my mistake. Olmark. Just plain Olmark. And with one final poke of our head into the limiter box, we are done. Hope you all enjoyed this. We are so very close to the end. I will see you all next time.